What up, gamers? Who's ready for some more modern gameplay action over here at NanMans Nerd Corner? I'm, of course, some NanMan, bringing you guys all our modern action week in, week out for you to be able to enjoy. This time around, we've got Izzet Twin versus Broodscale Combo. Of course, both these decks we did highlight in our 40-plus deck tier list that just came out on Monday. So if you're interested to see where your deck places, or at least what the meta is currently looking like, what's the best decks, what are kind of competitive decks, and what are just the meme for fun decks, and how those all rank up in the current state of Modern. So both these decks are decent to lower tier in a way. I say Izzet Twin is a little bit lower. I don't know. I like the deck a lot. Every time that I play it, it feels good. You know, it does have maybe a slight advantage of the way that I've built it and tuned it. Is basically like a Blue Moon-esque style, you know, relying on Harbinger of the Seas, Magus of the Moons, and it's a basically Izzet Wizard package with Oops, I Win buttons added in there with Deceiver of Exarch and Splinter Twin. Other side of things, we have a combo deck with Broodscale Combo, which relies on our use of a powerful equipment, Blade of the Blood Chief, with our Broodscale to be able to essentially go infinite with mana, or at least colorless mana. You can be able to use something like a Glaring Fleshraker to drain your opponent. You could spend all that mana to be able to cast an Emrakul. You could spend that mana to be able to cast a Walking Ballista. So there's a lot of ways to win from there. Or you just beat someone down with a giant Basking Broodscale. All these are, you know, effective ways to go about it. This is kind of the red-green version of the list. You know, there's a couple different variations. You know, how much extra Eldrazi tools and disruptive tools, or how much you're committing to a combo. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can build the list. And, of course, all these lists are available for you to be able to enjoy on our Mox Field. These matches were recorded up a couple weeks ago. We're still playing catch up on a lot of different videos, but we've got a bunch of good ones in the works for you guys to be able to enjoy, from like affinity lists, from hardened scales, from, you know, more Broodscale, more Izzet Eldrazi, Amulet Titan. You know, we've got all kinds of goodies coming up. Some Neo brand. Oh, speaking of shenanigans, Basking Broodscale attempting to hit the battlefield, and if there is no response, you could equip the blade here and be ready to go. Now, you notice how you have to adapt for 2 mana, so that is one of the things, but Counterspell is going to answer that and put a stop. No actual Broodscale shenanigans do get to happen, at least on turn 3 here. So now it is on our Izzet player to kind of do some responding and setting themselves up. They're doing some preordained, looking, digging, trying to find some tools. Now, in a world of like 3-color decks, you know, Jeskai, Blink, you know, or the amulets and, you know, multicolored decks that are running around, having access to like Magus of the Moon, Harbinger of the Seas, those types of effects can actually have a huge impact on the game. But look at this follow-up here. Basking Broodscale going to come down again. Do we get a response? And a Bolt's going to answer that up. Zap, zap. So this is going to be a tough uphill battle for the Broodscale player of, like, they're constantly trying to commit resources, and it's just sort of just one-to-one answers, no problem. So it's going to be kind of going to have to get into a slower, grindier game. One way to do that is to have a Thought-Knot Seer come down, get some information. As of right now, it just looks like a blue-red sort of control-y deck at the moment. There's no, like, indication or leaning that it is going one way or the other at the moment. Like, it's like, oh, this is Splinter Twin, or oh, this is, you know, it looks more like an Izzet Wizard package based off of, like, here's our wizard coming down, Merfolk Wizard, Tashana's Tidebinder, going to do a basically countering the trigger so our opponent cannot look at our hand here. Thought-Knot does resolve. Now, if it does die, you know, it won't we won't be drawing cards and stuff like that. So there is that factor in it. But a 4/4, basically saying we want to protect our hand. That's basically what it's telling us. So we've got another wizard coming out, Tamio. So yeah, it looks just like an Izzet Wizard package, so it kind of gives you kind of that relief of going, all right, here's the scary stuff as a Broodscale player that I've got to worry about. Snapcaster Mage, Flame of Anor, things like that. You know, Tamio can get a little bit out of hand, but we can kind of maybe deal with it. Glaring Fleshraker going to come out. Again, this is one of the ways to kind of close out the game, but also just a really powerful creature, which looks like a Tidebinder going to get sacked in response for Flare of Denial. Now, if you're... Oh, hey, and there is a nice little Haywire Mite. So, because we know that it's Twin, the Haywire Mite does make things really scary. And of course, if you guys are liking the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We do have gameplay every single week for you. Mondays and Thursdays is our current release schedule, with a sprinkling of content coming out on Saturdays for you to enjoy. We've got some Riftbound pack openings of our starter decks coming up soon. We just purchased them at our LGS on Tuesday, so we gotta maybe record up a video. I don't know if we're going to get it by Saturday. We'll see. If not this week, they'll be coming out next Saturday for you to enjoy. Ugh, Agatha's Soul Cauldron. This card's so good. Now, if you, of course, know of like the VV Cauldron stuff in Standard, but we are not worrying about Standard here because Agatha's Soul Cauldron is just as scary in Modern, if not scarier. But we see a Deceiver going to flash in at combat, beginning of combat, before we actually get to declare attackers, and we'll be able to tap down the Thought Knots here. You know, Haywire here does cause a little bit of problems. Haywire can be able to blow up the Splinter Twin, so can't be comboing off as long as that is still on the battlefield here. Ooh, expressive, and also no third land here, so that is something to kind of keep in mind. So maybe they'll be hitting off of expressive. Expressive doesn't see as much play anymore, but there's a land. So you're noticing the like specific amount of basics in here. One of the things that the twin list that I'm running runs 2 basic mountains, 2 basic islands, so I can pivot between doing the Harbinger of the Seas plan or the Magus of the Moon. Depending, Magus and Blood Moon are sideboard cards where I have 2 Harbinger main board there. Maybe I should swap it and have my, you know, Magus's main board to get access to, like, Splinter Twin does cost double red, but I don't know. It's counter spells and all the other cards are better. All right, +1 counters going on our creatures here, getting rid of the Tidebinder. So we're in this sort of grind. You know, Broodscale player advantage is definitely on their side. They've got ways to interact with Splinter Twin. They are getting a lot of resources here. You know, off Ancient Stirrings, digging for stuff. They've got a threat and, ooh, even scarier tool coming out here. Eldrazi, of course, Kozilek's Command going to help us out. We can make some spawns. We can draw some cards. We can be able to exile a creature with converted mana cost X or less. Get rid of cards from the graveyard. But we're really focused on getting rid of a creature. All right, specifically that Deceiver. Especially, you know, we're feeling pretty good if we, you know, have ways to exile things with our... you know, Haywire Mite. We've got Agatha's Soul Cauldron. So I like to just sort of bring the beats, send 4 across, and pass turn. And then if our opponent tries to respond to stuff, we have a lot of ways to sort of just, you know, chill, react. And there's the 4/4 coming. Are there any other creatures? No other creatures. No blocks, no effects. Dropping a 9. And let's pop the clue to draw a card. Ooh, Responsin', Kozilek's Command here. Okay, so we're going to exile the creature that costs 3 or less and make 3 guys. Ooh, going for the Tamio. So again, trying to go for like the anti-wizard package here. But does that... Are we hoping they don't have a twin. Is that their plan? I don't know. I don't know if I like that as much as... But you have that other side of it is like if they have Flame of Anor, they shoot Thought Not Seer, they blow up our Agha's Soul Cauldron, we just get like blown out, and we're left with nothing, where maybe us playing it safe is the right play, because now Splinter Twin combo does go off here. So we do get this activate, tap, activate, tap, activate, tap, do all this, you know, fun adventures of untapping our twin, making another Deceiver, block 1, 2, 3, 4 of it, take 196 damage there. So game number 1 in the books for us to be able to go. Of course, we get into sideboard mode, and we'll be jumping into game number 2 here. We're interrupting our gameplay to let you know about our new affiliate with NerdGear. nerdgear.gg/nanman will take you directly to the website, and as you can see, they've got a bunch of awesome gaming accessories, from playmats, life counters with the life tracks, playmat holders, and more. So make sure you do some browsing on the site, find some goodies, and then use the code NGNanman for 5% off your entire order. But let's get back to our gameplay. All right, so thanks for sticking with us as we get into game number 2. Cut out the sideboard stuff like we always do, and we've got a little commercial break that we're going to start interjecting into, you know, our series between game 1 and game 2, now that we've kind of are affiliated with Nerd Gear there, which has got a lot of cool stuff, especially with the holidays coming up. Might be worth it to consider looking for some goodies that you like. I'm a big fan of the life trackers. Oh yeah, I got a pregame effect. Bill, I'm going to draw 2 cards. I picked up a bunch of OG Pokemon trainer cards from there, because if you didn't know, I have quite a few of the original OG Pokemon stuff. I have what am I up to now? Like 6 or 7 decks from base set to fossil, and so I'll play those every so often with some buddies. Maybe we'll do some filming of that at some point on the channel for some extra bonus content to be able to enjoy if people are interested in it. But one of the things is you get unlimited amount of trainers in the original base to fossil version. So that means that decks are running like 4 Bills, 4 Professor Oaks. So everyone's like, I'm Pot of Greeting and drawing 2 cards. I'm, you know, Wheel of Fortune and discarding my hand and drawing 7 cards. And like, you can go through decks very quickly. Now, you do lose if you deck yourself out. If you run out of cards, and you know, that is definitely one of the ways to lose. So be careful with it. But it's very cool to kind of play the original way of Pokemon. I know a lot of people are big into the collecting, especially with some of the cool cards that exist there. You know, I enjoyed some of the 151 stuff when it first came out, but didn't get too much into it. Now the prices of it are crazy. But I have a lot of the original decks that are like, you got those damage, you know, heavy played cards that aren't worth anything. Essentially, they're like, because they're damage, I will happily take those and build decks with them, because it's so much fun to play with cards. I'm a big fan of being able to do the playing. So, speaking of playing, of course, we talked about the Riftbound stuff. You know, we've got Riftbound. We'll probably do some interacting with. Maybe that's what we'll start doing is start to build up a good set of bonus content. Of course, because I got a buddy that does a lot of the One Piece stuff. I played a good chunk of that when it first was coming out. Have not played a lot recently, but there are some very skilled players that maybe will do some extra bonus stuff in the future. Who knows? Who knows? I know it's hard because we have spent so much time developing our Magic content here, and I don't want to start a secondary YouTube channel, because we technically do have a second YouTube channel devoted to like video games and stuff like that, and Let's Plays, and we used to do some history of gaming and we used to do Magic on there too, but lots of other stuff on there. But you know, that's of course our youtube.com/nanman, but still got a couple weekly stuff posted up there. But really, it's we're putting a lot of our effort and focus into the Magic YouTube channel. We've grown quite a lot this year. We'll do a wrap up at the end of the year. I keep talking about it, but you know, we're in November now. Basically 2 months left, and our big goal for 2025, I don't know if we're going to hit it, but our big goal that we're trying to get overall is to get 100,000 views in 2025. Maybe it's possible. I mean, at the time of recording right now, we're at 89,595 views in 2025, which is crazy to think about. Just the amount of people that have tuned in and watched our content this year. So that's our big goal. If we can't make it in 2025, we'll set that for our 2026 goal. But if we do hit it, then we're just going to have to keep going and keep setting bigger and bigger goals, because, you know, we've done a lot of traveling to events and doing a lot of cool stuff this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what 2026 has. But we've got an attempt for another Basking Broodscale. We've got all the tools set up, but Counterspell is going to answer that and put a stop to that here. Now, you have to be careful if you are going for the, you know, blue moon style, you know, flood moon, you know, blood moon styles against a deck that has our Urza Saga, because of moments like this. If we jam that out too early, where they're sitting out at the second tier of the kind of lore counters, you get to keep that around and just constantly make constructs, and we just get overrun by that. So not what we want to see happen. But another Urza construct going to get created here, and search effects going to go. We've already got a good amount of tools here. All right, the just in case in response to you searching, just in case there's a pithing needle to stop my Scalding Tarn. We're not going to let that happen. And there we go for the... We've updated our basic lands for the deck. I love the Phyrexian art, but we have since updated it, and you'll have to wait a couple weeks before you get to see what the updated art for our basics looks like. Because you know me, I'm a huge fan of finding ways to kind of spice up your deck or make your deck unique, and one of the ways to do that is by picking the very specific basic lands. There are some decks where I'm like, I'm going to have mixed match lands, and I'm going to have white border, and I'm going to have this, and, like, you know, whatever way you decide it definitely has an impact and something to say about the way that you build your deck and, you know, care about your deck. Like, we look at the sweet, you know, Edge of Eternity's lands that the Broodscale player is utilizing here. I love all the space scenes. At some point, I'll collect all those. Like, I've decided that I'm going to get bigger into the collecting side of things going into 2026. Like, there's a couple of collecting projects that we'll probably start making some videos for on our goal for 2026 of specific cards that we're going to start picking up for it. We'll see how that goes. We're still doing the planning phase, because we've got also our cube video that we're working on and designing, because we've got that multiplayer cube that we just finished up. We haven't had any chances to do any of the practices or playing with it yet, but that's okay. So this counterspell here is, I don't know. This is a iffy choice to counterspell. I guess it's weird, right? Because we know the Agatha is there, but getting it off the field now maybe helps us. I don't know. I'm looking at this from my point of view as the Izzet Twin player. That it's like there's definitely a few questionable choices that I feel like are made, but we'll see. All right, Expressive Iteration, going to go digging for some more tools here. The Snapcaster on end step there, one of the ways is because it's Izzet Wizard package, and we know we're fighting against the Soul Cauldron, so if we try to Snapcaster, bring and use our counter spells, that could just get answered and immediately just say, no, we're going to eat that from your graveyard, and you get nothing. We'll get a Bolt set aside here. Not a land, but still have lands available, and paying 2. All right, Flame of Anor here. Now this is a wonky mode. So here's the line that we're trying to go for. Let's kill both them. Destroy one. It shrinks it. We're going to deal 5 damage. Oh, wait. We got. Because the Agatha Soul Cauldron puts a +1 counter. So yes, 5 damage is marked on it. It still lives because it's technically a 6/6. We could have maybe done that in combat and like try to do a block and do that. It is risky also because there is a good chance, you know, more artifacts could enter or other things. Also, now we're all tapped out. So if a Basking Broodscale shows up here, you know, we just die. Oh, gaining some life. 3 mana. Oh, 2 of it going to be using for a rumble. 2, 3, 4. Discard these. Get a permanent back. What are we going to grab here? The debate. Yeah, we look at the Urza Saga. We're looking at maybe the Glaring Fleshraker. Couldn't see. Oh, another land. Okay. All right. Eldrazi Temple. Glaring Fleshraker here. Oh, we forgot to make our spawn. We forgot to make the spawn. There should be a spawn on the battlefield off the Malevolent Rumble. Just kidding. Oh, does that make a difference here in this moment? Not yet, other than maybe we could have equipped the blade onto the construct and popped it and swung in for essentially 7. All right, Preordain going to get used. Dig in for some resources. Dig in for some tools. 1 and 1.
I would like to actually egg this up.
All right. There it goes, Flame of Anor. So again, that's what we were talking about earlier of like having this Graveyard Hate card available. Also, we have the Soul Guide Lantern too that we can just pop as well if stuff gets really crazy. But I love the art of that Eldrazi Temple. I need to pick them up, but I just keep getting sidetracked and going, oh, I'm going to buy these cool comic book Spider-Man cards, or I'm going to, you know, buy some Riftbound stuff, or like, you know, just distracted. Get distracted by the things that I want. All right, digging here. We pop the Soul Guide Lantern to draw a card. Still have a Vexing Bauble we could pop if we're really looking for stuff. But that's the other thing. Okay, no imprint here. Oh, just kidding. Imprinting the Embercool. Now back to being Hellbent, but still have a way to draw a card. Our opponent is still sitting here. Twin players got like 3 or 4 cards in hand. 4 untapped mana. Yeah, it looks like 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Attempt to move to combat. Deceiver Exarch will be tapping down the construct. Alright, Glaring Fleshraker going to come out. Swing for 2. We're going to see if we're going to do the trade. We'll do a double block here. I guess we could have just blocked with that, knowing that our opponent is Hellbent, but with the, you know, then Glaring Fleshraker lives, so this is just sort of like, I don't know, extra protection from it. Who knows? Ooh, Magus coming out. Debating about the way to tap. Keeping the double island for basically telegraphing counterspell. In response, we see the Devour of Destiny going back to hand. Alright. Popping, drawing a card. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana here. Technically, we'd be at 6 if we had that Eldrazi spawn that we should have made earlier. So that's 7, so that would be enough for Devour, but because we forgot it... Ooh, Blade. Double Blades, pretty nice. Construct grows to a 4/4 is a 5/5 off the +1 counter already there. That's what the Tarma dice is kind of helping to represent in this match.
I'm just trying to.
Yep. Keep it up. I appreciate it.
I'll take for 2 colorless and attempt to equip both these swords to that guy.
All right. We're going to see the double equip take place here. Bring the beats. 4, 5, could be 6 damage. Throw the Deceiver in the way and fling our cards around. And we'll get 2 +1 counters. We initially put 1 extra one on there, but there's 2 blades, so we do make that correction real quick. So it's technically a 7/7 now. Ugh. All right, another mountain coming out. It's like, could you get in for 2? And it's like, yeah, probably, because we know there's going to be a Devourer probably coming. Forest. So now we get access to green and also 7 mana. Again, very cool land choices. Tapping them all out. Bringing out the Devourer. Cast trigger. Exile Magus of the Moon. Cast trigger, targeting, responding. Tapping 3. Flame of Anor. Destroy and draw 2 cards. Probably what we should have done with the first time that we cast Flame of Anor, without, paying enough attention to, face up information about the Soul Cauldron and, the +1 counter with Agatha. But whatever, that's okay. So, tapped out. Deceiver here on the end step. Devour is lay sleepy. Tap down. And there is the Splinter Twin. The Oops I Win button coming in handy in game 2 and 3. Or game 1 and 2 here. To be able to make a bunch of Deceivers. Do all the tapping, untapping. Make 200 of them again. And swing across for game there. Yeah, the Oops All Win with the grindy, draw a lot of cards, destroy stuff with Flame of Anor is such a good card. Every time that I cast it, I'm like, I need to play more Flame of Anors because this card is amazing. I love it. Love it. So versatile. Now, we do get to see a little bit of sideboards from both players here. This is one of my favorite parts about being able to do the on-camera stuff, because sideboarding is such a hard skill to master and learn and go through, and having those discussions with the players. Hey, I brought these in. What do you think about this? Do you think this actually helps in this matchup or not? And that's one of the nice things about our LGS is that we have so many, great conversations from very skilled players that kind of understand their matchups and understand their decks and are willing to kind of have those discussions and help players improve, because it's much more fun when players are improving and you're battling out against better players or equal skilled players. So it feels like a nice actual battle compared to being like, I'm just gonna stomp over people. But we get the nice mix of meme decks and competitive decks. So sometimes you might get a little stomping here and there. I don't really think even that one was much of a stomping. I felt like it was very close both times around. Little minor mistakes here and there between players, but that's okay. We had fun. It's here for the memes and the fun. But hope you guys enjoyed that one. That's going to do it for us here today. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next game.